Maharashtra, situated in the western peninsular region of the country, is the third largest state with a geographical area of 307,713 square kilometers and ranked second among the states in terms of the recorded forest area. Maharashtra accounts for about 7.3% of the total forest area of India. The state has three physiographic zones starting from the western coast, which ranges for a distance of 720 kilometers, coming onto the Western Ghats, which is a biodiversity hotspot having rich variety of wildlife, and then the Deccan Plateau, which covers the parts from the foots of the Western Ghats on the east and further. The state has an extensive protected area network with as many as 49 wildlife sanctuaries, 6 national parks, and 6 conservation reserves. Some of these protected areas are included in the 6 tiger reserves, which are Tadoba Andhari, Melghat, Pench, Navegaon Nagzira, Sahyadri, and Bor. State of Maharashtra is blessed with an amazing biodiversity with very diverse flora and fauna due to habitats such as coastline, Western Ghats, forests of central India, and grasslands. The state is blessed by a number of rivers which include Godavari, Bhima, Narmada, Tapi, Koyna, and Krishna. These also hold a great amount of biodiversity. The forest cover in the state is 50,777 square kilometers, which is 16.5% of the state's geographical area. As our country has grown in terms of population, development is a logical next step that followed. This led to initiation of lots of new projects for roads, railways, power projects, etc. to provide for the power and commutation needs of the entire population. These projects needed space that was sometimes falling under forests, and hence the forest land needed to be diverted. Whenever forest land is diverted for non-forest purposes, it is mandatory under the Forest Conservation Act 1980 that an equivalent area of non-forest land has to be taken up for compensatory afforestation. In addition to this, net present value for raising the forests are also to be imposed on whomsoever is undertaking the diversion. This is a permission which can only be granted by the central government. Since 1980, the Forest Department has been receiving money from the concerned agencies in the form of compensation for forest lands diverted for non-forestry purpose. As per the provisions of the Forest Conservation Act, the central government agencies are exempt from giving land for the land occupied. However, all others have to compensate for land with alternative land along with the other compensation levies. Before CAMPA, the compensatory levies were recovered and maintained under the forest deposit at forest division level and were utilized as per the requirement. In the year 2002, the Supreme Court directed to constitute separate compensatory afforestation fund with an ad hoc body, that is ad hoc CAMPA, under the Director General Forests to oversee the utilization till CAMPA became operational. In 2006, states transferred the amounts to ad hoc CAMPA, which started maintaining separate bank account for each state. Supreme Court permitted the ad hoc CAMPA to release 10% of the principal amount deposited to the credit of each state on a yearly basis. CAF Act 2016 to provide for the establishment of funds under the Public Account of India and public accounts of each state and crediting thereto the monies received as compensatory levies from the user agencies. The law establishes the National Compensatory Afforestation Fund under the Public Account of India and a State Compensatory Afforestation Fund under the public account of each state. To compensate the loss of forest area and to maintain the sustainability, the Government of India came up with a well-defined act known as CAMPA, Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority. These funds will receive payment for compensatory afforestation, net present value of forest, and other project-specific payments. The National Fund will receive 10% of these funds, and the state funds will receive the remaining 90%. 2019, the central government transferred the funds to the state. These funds have been deposited in the interest-bearing non-lapsable public accounts of the state to promote afforestation and regeneration activities as a way of compensating for forest land diverted to non-forest uses. The topmost authority at the state level is the Governing Committee, which is headed by the Chief Minister of the state. It has a main task of laying down broad policy framework for functioning of the CAMPA. The steering committee, chaired by the Chief Secretary, is tasked with scrutinizing and approval of APO, the review of various reports and ensuring interdepartmental coordination. Executive Committee is chaired by the PCCF and is responsible for formulation and submission of APO for concurrence of the Steering Committee. Supervision, monitoring, evaluation, preparation of annual reports, maintenance of book accounts. The purpose of the compensatory afforestation is to compensate the loss of land by land, further stipulate that any proposal submitted by the state government seeking prior approval of the central government must have a comprehensive schedule of afforestation. The CAMPA office functions with its headquarters at Nagpur. The office is headed by an additional Principal Chief Conservator of Forests and CEO appointed for the purpose. Afforestation is one of the major forestry activities for regeneration of degraded forests and bringing more area under forest and tree cover to achieve the goal of having 1/3 of geographical area of the country under forest and tree cover. This is also envisaged in successive national forest policies. Compensatory afforestation complements this national objective. The plantation types undertaken are of monotype plantations of teak or bamboo or mixed type plantations. These choices are based on the areas chosen for the plantations. The Maharashtra Forest Department signed an MOU with IIFM Bhopal to conduct third-party evaluation of CAMPA plantations taken across the state. The objective of the evaluation was to assess the status of the 285 CAMPA plantations and also to ascertain the reasons for its success or failure. Chain link fencings are erected around the plantations to protect them for animal grazing and cutting by people. CAMPA funds for the chain link fencing and maintenance for a period of first 6 years from the start of the plantation. Maintenance of environmental stability through preservation and, where necessary, restoration of the ecological balance that has been adversely disturbed by serious depletion of the forests of the country. Tree planting is done after studying the local climate, land, water in consultation with the agro-meteorological department. After planting, water, fertilizers, shade, protection from animals are planned. Through Joint Forest Management Committee, the villagers were provided detailed information about the importance and future benefits of plantations. This helps in getting the local support in the plantations. It is due to local support and awareness that the plantations can be protected and conserved as the surrounding villagers ensure that there is no grazing in the patches. Grasslands are one of the most important but often neglected ecosystems. It is critical for maintenance of good herbivore population, which is so essential to maintain viable population of top predators. Under the CAMPA scheme, trees are planted across the state through the Social Forestry Department of the state government with the purpose of beautification and to maintain environmental balance. Tree planting can be used to reduce the adverse effects of changes in the environment on the agriculture and industry. For this, local employees of the department create awareness among the villagers about the plantations and their management. Special attention is given by this department to ensure that planted trees grow well. This is helping enrichment of the area. Mainly local species are planted. The Social Forestry Wing tackles non-forest lands for increasing tree cover outside the forest areas. This wing has control over the plantations for the first 3 years, and then they hand it over to the respective authorities, which may be road authority, village panchayat, etc. The main objective of water and soil conservation and management is to prevent soil erosion, increase soil moisture, raise groundwater level, conserve and increase the biomass cover of the area. The idea is to capture and conserve every drop of water and to produce better forests. Number of structures are built in the forests to achieve soil and moisture conservation, which help in controlling and guiding runoff of water, reducing the impact of water on soil, allowing for greater infiltration by slowing down water flows. Experience has shown that watershed development and management works as a good strategy to increase the productivity of the land. These also serve in water storage, which is helpful for the forest residents. Ranmara is a small village with only 270 households in Khed Taluka of Pune district. In 2003, the Junnar Forest Department set up forest conservation committees in several villages of the Taluka to conserve and protect the forests with the participation of the local villagers. Ranmara was one of those villages. Due to the joint efforts of the Forest Department, the Joint Forest Management Committee and the villagers, water conservation works in the forest area were carried out on a large-scale basis. 3 works of serial bunding are most important among these works. Later, desiltation and deepening work of these 3 bunds was done under the CAMPA scheme. This increased the groundwater level and consequently the water level of the wells got elevated. The number of new wells also increased considerably. All rain-fed agriculture became irrigated agriculture. All these works were done under the able guidance of Mr. P.T. Shinde, Chairman of the Joint Forest Management Committee. Due to availability of stored water, farms could get water for all 12 months. People started going for cash crops. The economic condition of the people improved and they got employment throughout the year. High-tech nurseries have been established in the state to ensure the supply of quality planting material for different planting stock along with small nurseries at district, taluka and village level. High-tech nursery is a combination of poly-greenhouse and agri-net house. Vegetative reproduction is used in such nurseries to ensure genetic similarities with the source. High-tech nurseries overcome the limitations like poor control over climatic factors, low germination percentage, longer duration, and high cost involved in conventional methods of plant raising. They help in supplying the required quality planting material for the nurseries to raise for the year's plantation targets. A lot of new plantation germination experiments are also carried out in the high-tech nurseries. The state of Maharashtra is leading in terms of research and monitoring activities which are being taken up on a wide array of issues in wildlife management. A substantial amount of CAMPA funds has been spent in the research projects related to plantations. Various plantation experiments have been conducted for evolving best practices. There have been some experiments done in commercial plantations to give benefits to the people in neighborhood of forests with species such as Melia dubia. Some of the plantation types that have been researched have given insights to the better utilization of space and water, like the Miyawaki method of plantation. The research wing has also established a seed evaluation center which evaluates the best practices for seed germination and extractions. This would help to further plantation activities, which are the core of CAMPA. Research projects are being taken on lesser-known species by associating with other institutions through funding from CAMPA and other sources. These projects would go a long way in building up a scientific database to facilitate management interventions in future based on informed decisions. In fact, the state has entered into long-term MOUs with apex institutes like Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, and has pledged substantial funds for long-term research and monitoring in the state. Forest Department always faced the dearth of funds for infrastructure development like construction of roads, residential and office buildings, purchase of vehicles, and technological upgradation. One Bhavan at Pune is a corporate standard building which brought most of the offices scattered around Pune under one roof and thereby brought about synergies of working together at one place. Before the construction of One Bhavan, all the forest offices were scattered in the city, making day-to-day communication difficult. Amount paid every year for rent was also huge. Construction of One Bhavan with CAMPA funds has solved all such difficulties. The garden maintained in the premises has won the prize in the competition organized by the Garden Department of Pune Municipal Corporation for 2 consecutive years. Funds have also been used for the technological upgradation. In remote areas, residential facilities have been provided to the frontline staff, which has ultimately resulted in effective protection of those areas. In high rainfall areas of Vidarbha and Sahyadri, maintenance of building is a difficult task. CAMPA funds have been used for the maintenance of such buildings on large scale. The most common hazard in forests is forest fires. They pose threat not only to the forest wealth but also to the entire regime, to fauna and flora, seriously disturbing the biodiversity and ecology and environment of a region. Fires mainly take place during hot summer months when the forest floor littered with dry leaves may burst into flames with any slightest spark, mostly due to human interference. Preventing these fires is the best way to avoid a great loss. One of the major activities is compartmentalizing of a forest with fire breaks, or as we know it popularly as fire lines, where vegetation is removed, and reducing the buildup of fuel such as litter, branches, fallen trees, etc. by controlled burning. This activity is done from January to March before the summer months. And a constant watch is kept on these fire lines, and that's where the forest watchers are engaged. CAMPA funds have been utilized in creating fire lines in the CAMPA plantations as well as in buying fire handling equipment like blowers and also in paying the fire watchers. An early warning system for forest fires is from detection. It is done both by staff deployed on watchtowers located at vantage point and also by 24/7 fire cell operational in divisional office, which alerts the field staff of possible forest fires on the basis of satellite-based fire alerts received from NASA, firms and FSI. Watchtowers, which are erected, also help in keeping a watch for the fire in the forest, as they help in monitoring animals at waterholes. The in-service training facilities provide the best way for capacity building to the frontline forest staff. The Education and Training Circle gives training to the officers and staff of the Forest Department. Under CAMPA, various trainings have been conducted like refreshers training for foresters, information communication, office procedures, etc. Workshops are held for increasing awareness of the forest staff about man-animal conflict, working plan, area development, biodiversity, ecotourism, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, agroforestry, etc. There are specific trainings for capacity building among women. Special trainings are conducted for joint forest management. In addition to this, there are trainings held under social responsibility like career guidance for youth, rural development and women empowerment workshop and Sarpanch workshops.
It's very heartening to note that a lot of CAMPA funds have been spent on relocation of villages from the protected areas of Maharashtra. And this has really helped both the tribals as well as the wildlife found in these protected areas. Fortunately, a lot of villages are now coming forward to get themselves rehabilitated because of the package which the Maharashtra government is offering them. As I said, over the last few years, we have spent nearly more than 300 crores on the relocation of rehabilitation of villages from the protected areas.
On a closer look at the various items of expenditure, it is evident that the maximum expenditure has been on the rehabilitation of the villages from the protected areas to create inviolate spaces for the recovery of wildlife. At the same time, it gives an opportunity to the villagers staying in the remotest corners of the forests to come into the mainstream and experience the benefits of better employment avenues, health and education, as also crop protection and better connectivity. The inviolate spaces created within the protected areas have led to increase in the herbivore population, and as a consequence, the predators have also increased. It has to be remembered that this relocation is completely voluntary in nature, and even if one family in the whole village decides to stay back, the views of the family have to be respected, and they would continue to occupy the place even if the other villagers move out. This respect to the views of the villagers has earned Maharashtra most success in the relocation of the villages program. In the last 3 years, 10 villages have been rehabilitated. In case of relocation of villages from the protected area and tiger reserves, the amount which was deducted from the families under option 1 of relocation for provision of basic amenities was later repaid from the funds of CAMPA. Similarly, the amount required for payment of 4 times the land value and immovable property was also paid from CAMPA for the families relocated from protected areas and tiger reserves. This has resulted in a win-win situation for the villagers as well as for the wild animals, as there is a significant rise in the wild animal population. The vacated agricultural lands have been converted into excellent meadows with minimal intervention to manage the grasslands so that succession is arrested and the proportion of unpalatable weeds is controlled.
And as of now, we have been able to, in all, we have identified 110 villages, out of which 66 villages have already been rehabilitated through various schemes, but the major component has come from CAMPA. And there are 44 more villages lined up for rehabilitation.
The Kola-Marka Conservation Reserve in the Sironcha Forest Division of Gadchiroli, situated along the Indravati River, holds the last population of the Asian wild buffalo in Maharashtra. In all, around 25 to 30 individuals were identified in the reserve and form the basis for the long-term survival of the wild buffalo in Indravati Basin. The area has Madia, Gond and Pradhan tribals and also known for a heavy Naxal activity. Wildlife protection in the region is a challenge, and hence participation of locals was a key to further any protection initiative. Funding from CAMPA was done to enhance infrastructure development, wild buffalo protection and monitoring, habitat development, eco-development works, people awareness and capacity building of the staff. Additionally, money was received for protection and monitoring work. The department has garnered wide support and confidence of the people in the conservation endeavor of wild buffalo due to the eco-development works. A local management committee was set up for ensuring effective representation to local community in the whole process of conserving wild buffalo. As most of the villages are suffering from potable water scarcity, bore wells have been dug. To ensure water availability to cattle and agriculture field, many cord tale have been created. Besides, road repairing work has also been undertaken to increase connectivity of the area. Department has employed the monitoring team since last year. Members of the team belong to the villages falling within reserve area. The population is stable in the region, as is monitored on an ongoing basis. Vultures have shown a drastic decline in population of 99.9%, which was accounted to the use of diclofenac. Such a decline was also seen in Sironcha Forest Division of the Gadchiroli district. A vulture conservation program was launched with the help of CAMPA funds in the area, aiming to get public participation in the conservation of vultures, and accordingly, some of the initiatives undertaken were public awareness, creating vulture restaurants, designating Giddhar Mitra to individuals of public who were actively engaged in tracking and monitoring vultures, and also in public awareness. Even a monthly honorarium was given to these volunteers. 5 vulture restaurants surrounded by chain link fencing were built at Dharamancha, Golakarji, Chalewada and Kotsipalli, which ensured that the vultures feed safely in these places. An assistance of Rs 500 was given to the villagers who provided a dead cattle for the vultures. Both the local vulture varieties, Oriental white-backed vultures and the long-billed vultures, were monitored during the program and have witnessed a successful comeback. The public awareness has. Human interactions with wildlife sometimes lead to accidents. That's where the rescue centers play a pivotal role in rescuing and treating the animals. One such center exists on the western coast of Maharashtra at Dahanu, which mostly gets injured sea turtles. Western coast being a busy coastal region with number of vessels moving for trade as well as fishing, turtles get caught in the nets or are injured due to the ship's movements. These are brought to the rescue center for treatment, with green sea turtles and olive ridley turtles being the most frequently found here, along with the hawkbills. The peak time for these rescues is during the monsoon months, when this center may have up to 60 turtles under treatment. This center is run along with the NGO named Wildlife Conservation and Welfare Association. Human-animal negative interactions have increased in the recent times due to habitat fragmentation, habitat disturbance, increase in wild animal populations leading to dispersal in human-dominated landscapes, etc. Incidences of wild animals straying into human habitations, falling into wells, road accidents, etc. are also increasing. In order to tackle this ever-growing issue, rapid rescue units have been established in some divisions spread throughout the state. CAMPA funds are also being used for the establishment and strengthening of these rescue units, which is the need of the hour. In the recent State Board of Wildlife meeting, directions were issued to establish transit treatment centers in all 11 forest circles. CAMPA funds can be effectively used for the establishment of the transit treatment centers in future. Habitat improvement activities like meadow development works and soil moisture conservation works can also be a potential area to address the human-animal conflicts. CAMPA fund have been used to fund a lot of rescue equipment in order to modernize the activity. There is also a constant endeavor to upgrade equipment that ensures timely response to the calls. As the rescue centers have gathered more experience in the rescue process, there is now investment done in equipment necessary for a safe and secure rescue process.
So as we know that CAMPA has been functioning for last 10 years since 2010-11. Under the regular budgeting of the state government, there are regular checks and balances whereby the funds given by the state are accounted for, and the reports are being submitted to the Accountant General of the state. But unlike the regular funds or regular grants of the states, CAMPA was functioning under different scheme of things. So for last 10 years, there were certain discrepancies between the funds distributed by the state authority to the regional offices and the division offices. So the work of reconciliation or the task of reconciliation was taken up in the year 2019, and with the continuous efforts of 2 years, the CAMPA authority has now been able to reconcile all those accounts across the state, across almost 800 units, including the range offices, subdivisional offices, divisional offices and regional offices. So that important work of reconciliation has now been completed almost, and will be reported to the Accountant General, as well as a report shall also be submitted to the state government.